Application of any one data structure. We've always wondered what are the applications of data structure. So today we are going to learn about the application of doubly linked list. So what is a doubly linked list? A doubly linked list is a complex type of a linked list, one that connects to the next node in the sequence and the another that connects to the previous node. It is a structure that allows traversal of data. What are the applications of doubly linked list? So, a music playlist with the next song and the previous song navigation options is one of the applications of doubly linked list. Moving on to the creation of doubly linked list. So, how do we create a doubly linked list? So, here for example, we can see a diagram where we have a head node and we have three different nodes with three different addresses. So, what are these? Let me explain. So we have a head node which is storing the address of the first node. The first node has been assigned an address of 100, the second node has been assigned an address of 200, and the third has an address of 300. So the head node storing the address of the first node means that it is pointing to the first node, making the first node as the head node. Now you might be wondering what is data, next and prev. Let me explain. So how can we represent a node in a doubly linked list? So in order to access the data, the next and the prev, we need a struct variable or a head pointer. So with the help of the head pointer only, we can access the data, the next pointer and the previous pointer. So now let me explain what is previous and next pointer. So first of all, in any data structure, we have this head node which will be storing the address of the first node, making the first node as the head node. Then we come across the pointers next and prev. So next pointer actually points to the address of the next node. For example, in this diagram, we can observe that the first node's next is having the address of the second node, that is 200. So why are we doing this actually? This is because we are connecting the first node with the second node by storing the address of the second node in the next of the first node, that is this part. Now you will observe that there is a null in the previous of the first node. Why is this null over here? The reason is that there is no node before the first node. Therefore, there is no address to be stored in the previous of the first node. That's why this is null. For better explanation, let me take the example of the second node of this list. So in the second node, we observe that the next of the second node is having the address of the third node, that is 300. Therefore, this connects the second node and the third node. But what about the first and the second node connection? This can also be done easily by storing the address of the first node in the previous of the second node, that is 100. Now, coming to the last node, that is the third node of the list, we observe that the previous of the third node has the address of the second node, therefore connecting the second and the third node. But what about the next of the third node? Since we know that the third node is the last node of the list, therefore there is no other node after this. Therefore, there is no address to be stored in the next of the third node, that is the last node. Therefore, this is null. Moving on to how do we traverse in the doubly linked list. So we now understood what is a head node and why does it store the address of the first node. We understood the next pointer, the previous pointer and the data. So the data stores the data of the node and we know that the next pointer stores the address of the next node and the previous pointer stores the address of the previous node. Now, in order to traverse in the doubly linked list, we can take a temp pointer. So what is a temp pointer? A temp pointer is used to store the address of a node. So for example, in this diagram, we are storing the address of the second node, that is 200, in the temp pointer. So in this case, the temp is pointing towards the second node of the list. Now, with the help of the temp pointer, we can actually traverse forward in the list, and we can actually even go backward in the list. How can we do that? So, if in order to move forward in the list, what we can do is we can use the temp next is equals to 300. That is, the temp next will be storing the address of the next node, and the temp pre over here will be storing the address of the previous node, that is 100. So in this manner, we can even go forward in the list, or even we can go backward in the list. So hence, this is an advantage of doubly linked list. So this is how doubly linked list works for the music playlist with the next song and the previous song navigation options. So it stores the next song as well as the previous song in the list. So being a user, we all have observed this in our playlists that we can easily traverse to the next song by pressing this button, or we can easily go back to the song we want to listen to by pressing this button. So this is the application that the actual doubly linked list is used in this application in our music systems. Thank you.